All right. Today's discussion is all about product discovery. How do we make better products? The focus here is on, are we building the right products? As teams, are we creating value? Are we focusing on product discovery before actually getting into product delivery? Are we looking on, say, requirements as assumptions and validating those requirements or assumptions? So the focus here for the next 1 hour is on product discovery, looking at what to build before actually how to build it. So we are trying to look at the tools, best practices that we could use in product discovery, and why do we need to actually focus on product discovery even before getting into the delivery stage. That's the focus of discussion for today's meeting. So the agenda of this session is all about what is products, how product is different from project, why do we need to make a shift towards a productized mindset, what are all the different tools that we could use in product discovery, and finally try to wrap it up. All right. What are products? Products are something that tries to solve a customer problem. It can be a need, it can be a desire of a customer that we are trying to address. It could be even a problem. Now, let's take Amazon, for example. Now, I am the customer. To get my monthly groceries, I got to move to different outlets to get my monthly groceries. I got to compare prices between them. That's the problem that Amazon tries to solve. If it is a need, even if I buy those items, I would like to get it delivered at my doorstep. I need to have some kind of a return policy where I should be able to return my items that I have bought. If you talk in terms of desires, I like to have a kind of an one-touch policy, seamless user experience, same day delivery, 10 minutes delivery, within an hour delivery, kind of desires. So one thing that came to my mind is if products are to solve or address a problem of the customer in our daily work, that what we are trying to do, are we really trying to address any problem for the customer? That would be the kind of a starting point for us to move towards productization. All right. Now let's look at how product works differently from projects. If you take a kind of a product mindset, it always looks at outcomes. Outcomes meaning, what is the value that I am trying to provide? Rather, in a kind of a project-based mindset, it's all about feature factories. I am more concerned of when this release would get delivered, how my features would get delivered, how many features am I going to deliver. It's more about delivering features. We're not bothered about whether it's actually creating value to the customer, trying to address the problem that what the customer faces. But at the same time, if you look at outcomes, I come out with some kind of a shopping cart. The outcome would be is what would be the revenue that I get? The number of registered users weekly, the number of daily users who are trying to log in, number of active users who are using my website or a product. So those are the ones that we need to measure as success rather than delivering features and teams being kind of feature factories. That's the point that I'm trying to focus here. Scope. Requirements are kind of one-time interaction with the customer, trying to understand the requirements. We try to make sure that the requirements are got upfront and then we try to deliver those. Rather, in a kind of a product-based mindset, we truly appreciate that we don't know the requirements. We try to evolve them. We try to learn about the customer. We try to learn what are the pain points of the customer and then try to refine those requirements. Try to do small experiments, test those, and then try to come out with the actual product. So The requirements refining, the requirements finding is not a kind of an one-time activity, but that would be a kind of a continuous effort. So there'll be always an intent to discover about the customer, to learn about the customer is the point of focus here. Projects should always have a kind of a start date and an end date. Rather, in a kind of a productized mindset, it's like a value stream and it flows, and there's nothing like a start date and an end date. It's a long run teams. It's not temporary teams. Teams don't work on a particular project and they move to the another project. That's not the case here. It's more of long run teams. Products are made lifelong, all that kind of stuff. And take, for example, how we collect the requirements. It's more business driven. It's more about what the stakeholder wants, and we try to drive it accordingly. But in a kind of a productized mindset, the requirements context is got from the stakeholder, but it's the product team which decides what needs to be built. They define the requirements and then they try to build those products. Now, if you take up a productized mindset where we try to look at risks, we try to cater those risks in terms of desirability, in terms of usability, in terms of feasibility, in terms of business viability. So we look at these four kind of risk parameters and work along with teams to come out with a product. But if it is going to be a project mindset, we try to have stage gates, we try to have plans, we try to have roadmaps, we have product backlogs. So it gives a kind of a false sense of certainty. Product building is all about complex building, but it gives a kind of a false hope that everything is under control. That mindset needs to be moved away and looked at risks being handled. We anticipate risks in a kind of a productized way of working. Funding is always kind of release driven, right? You make a deployment for this release, the funding is done. Then for the next release, another funding is done. But in a kind of a productized mindset, it's all about picking a particular feature or an epic. We try to see whether it is viable. If it is not viable, then we move to another kind of value stream or another product. Where every time that you work on, there is a cross check that happens whether it's viable. That risk is being handled. So funding is not a kind of a release way or one-time activity. It's being monitored as and when the product is getting evolved. That's the point. So we looked at a kind of a productized way of working. Now we look at, okay, I need to move towards a productized mindset. We look at how teams are being built. We were talking about empowered teams, right? So when we talk about these empowered teams, it's about this trio, three actors who play a major role in this kind of product development. One is the product manager, a typical replica of a project manager, but his job role or description is quite different from the project manager. So product manager takes care of the business sense. We were talking about the four risks. We are going to look at the viability risks here. So his prime responsibility as a product manager is it viable to make this product? Does it make economic sense? So that would be something that he will be checking at every stage of the product is being evolved. He will look at the desirability. Does it make any value? Does people like this product? Does people want to have this product? So that kind of value check product manager will try to do, and he will handle these kind of two risks. If you take product designers are more about who takes care of the UX experience. What is the problem area? What is the pain point that the customer or the user has? And how are we going to handle that pain point? How are we going to make sure that the product is being usable easily? How easily that he can use the seamless experience that what we were talking about, the UX experience, the problem that we are trying to address through this product is what product designer will look at. So he will be looking at kind of an usability risks. Does he understand the product as a whole? Is he able to make use of this product without any help? Even the first time he tries to look at a particular product, is he able to maneuver over this product? Is the point that he will look at. And typically, the development teams will look at, is it really feasible under this current technology that this product could be built? So what is it different from a kind of a project way of working is, in a project way of working, the business provides the spec. Business provides the requirement. They give the requirement, the development team tries to work on that. So there's no kind of ownership here from the development team. It doesn't really care whether the product works or not. For them, the focus area would be only on how do I build it. Rather here, the focus shifts from the stakeholders to this product trio, where this product trio get the context of why the stakeholder wants this particular requirement. They try to address what problem we are trying to solve. They try to design that particular product. In turn, what happens is this product trio takes the ownership of the whole product. They try to handle these 4 risks and try to deliver that. So now their focus is not just what we try to build, but how we build it, right? So Agile is never a kind of a silver spoon. The point here is Agile takes care of how we build it. But mere how we build it doesn't matter, but before that, we need to have a kind of a product discovery. So this product discovery of what we build is what this product trio is going to give. So the point here that I'm trying to make here is, just because we move from a predictive mindset to an agile mindset, have these kind of ceremonies, have these kind of agile principles in place, that's not the recipe for success for teams or products. Because we are only focusing on how we build that product. Before that first step, we need to look at what we build. Why are we trying to build this one? So the point here is, even before the product delivery, whether we work using Agile or not use Agile, the point of focus should be on the product discovery, on what we build, rather than how we build. So using Agile is the first step on this right direction. But before that, the product team needs to decide on what do we actually build so that we are trying to address a problem of the customer. So product discovery should be the first step before the delivery of the product. And this product trio is the one who is going to take the ownership of what requirements that we are going to work on, why are we going to work on these requirements, and what problem is it going to solve as a product that we are trying to deliver. So the focus here is more about what we build rather than how we build. Now, we have this product trio. We have this product teams. Say, for example, we have created a team which would have a product designer, which would have a product manager, which would have a kind of a development team. But that's not enough. We need to look at the mindset of this product discovery. So what are we trying to look at is, any product that we develop need to be outcome oriented. Meaning, if I deliver this product, I should be able to measure the outcomes in terms of revenue, in terms of active users, in terms of how many number of users are using it every week, what is the number of registered users, or what is the revenue that I get out of it. Is the outcome that I need to look at first when I try to evolve a product, rather than measuring the success in terms of feature factories that what we discuss. No matter how many features we deliver, no matter how many releases we deliver, it doesn't really matter to the customer. So whatever that we features that we released, does it make impact? Because of that, does that mean that we've got revenue? Because of that feature release, does it mean that we have got the now increase in number of active users, increase in number of registered users? So any product that we develop, we need to first have a kind of an outcome that we are trying to look at. The second mindset is more about putting the customer at the center. What are we trying to work on as a product? What problem are we trying to address? Whom are we trying to address to? Why are we trying to address that? What is the need or the desire that this product is going to fulfill the customer? So we are trying to put the customer at the center, customer at the focus, and then build that product around that. That's the point that we are trying to look at. And during this product discovery, I need to find out a kind of a way where I will be able to depict the problem, depict the solutions, depict the opportunities in a simple diagrammatic way, one-page diagrammatic way. So if I'm able to visualize, look, this product is going to solve this particular problem. These are my problems. These are my opportunities. These are my outcomes. These are my solutions that I am trying to cater to. If I'm able to depict that visually in a simple diagram is what we are looking at instead of a 50, 100 page of specifications, which is of no value to the customer. So the next thing is about how teams are kind of being collaborative. The one that we talked about in the last slide was the stakeholder or the business is trying to tell how the product needs to be built rather than it should be the product trio. It should be the product team which decides what needs to be built, how it needs to be built, why are we trying to build this one, what problem we are trying to address, what is the need or what is the desire that we are trying to fulfill as to the customer. By doing so, we try to see that we don't know how to move about. We don't know the requirements. We try to learn about the customer, try to do small experiments, try to do small tests. All these requirements are considered an assumption, and then we try to test those out, and then we try to refine the requirement so that we are able to reach that outcome. And requirements gathering or product discovery is not a kind of an one-time activity. What happens in this product discovery mindset is I learn about the customer. I understand what is the requirement. I try to evolve the product, and it's not a kind of an one-time activity. It's about multiple times we try to interact with the customer, try to understand the customer, and try to come out with a product. So the whole point here is you have an outcome, you try to refine your requirements, you try to experiment. As teams, you try to collaborate, keep the customer at the focus or at the center, try to refine the requirements, try to evolve the product, try to learn about the customer. So we need to have this mindset if at all we are trying to look at product discovery is the point here. Now, we had an outcome. We knew that we need to have an outcome. We knew that we have to move towards the productized mindset instead of a projectized mindset. We try to weigh down the different options of why we need to look at kind of a productized mindset. And we form teams. Teams would be kind of a product manager, a product designer, and the development team, each one trying to handle a particular risk, and we are trying to handle that 4 risks. Now, we are going to look at the tools as the product teams. Now, we have created a team where there would be a kind of a trio team. One would be a kind of a product manager. The other one is the product designer. The other one is actually the dev lead, which would be composed with kind of a product teams. Now, I need to make use of some tools so that the product is being evolved. I want you to focus on this right-hand side picture of an inverted tree where you have a root. So if we are going to get into a kind of a productized mindset, my product should have a desired outcome for sure. Say, for example, we are trying to create a kind of a shopping cart. I need to have increase my revenue by 10x percentage. I need to have increase the percentage of registered users by 10%. I need to have an active number of weekly active users by 10%. So we clearly know what is the goal that we are trying to achieve by these outcomes. And the outcome is not like a feature factory. Remember, it's not a feature factory that I got to make a successful release of release 1.1, release 1.2. No, we're not going to look at delivering features, but we are trying to look at what is the real value that this product would deliver. So the number of registered users needs to be increased by X number of percentage is the outcome that we are looking at. The second thing was when we're talking about products was any product should address a customer's problem. Amazon addressed a problem of, look, I need to move to different stores or outlets. I shouldn't be sitting at my place and then try to order. That's the problem that it was trying to solve. So for that, it's nothing but a kind of an opportunity that what we are trying. So when we say an opportunity, that means it would be a kind of a problem that we are trying to address. It could be a need or it could be a desire. The pain point was I got to visit multiple stores. A need was I did not have a return policy. The desire was I should have got all my goods that I ordered at the same day, delivered at the same day. So anything of these are called opportunities. By realizing any of this opportunity, we are trying to achieve that particular outcome of X number of percentage of revenue that we are trying to achieve. Now, it's something like a cake which is cut into two pieces, where we first focus on the outcome. More importantly, we first focus on the problem that the customer is facing. We first look at what are all the problems that the customer faces. And then we are trying to look at solutions rather than directly moving to address the solution. So what it is trying to put across here is you had an outcome, you had opportunities. Opportunities are nothing but a kind of pain point, need, or a desire. For these opportunities to be addressed, I have solutions. Remember, these solutions are not technical solutions. These are solutions that are trying to address the customer's problem, a need, or a desire. And what's very peculiar in this diagram is there are multiple opportunities. For each opportunity, you would find multiple solutions. As a standard, in all the product teams, for any opportunity, the standard is at least we need to have a minimum of 3 solutions that we are trying to address to a particular problem. Google has 10 solutions. So the point here is we are trying to compare between one solution and the other solution, compare and contrast, meaning look at one solution and see how far we are able to solve that particular opportunity or the problem. Then look at the other solutions. Look at the similarity between these solutions. Look at differences between these solutions. And we pick out of these three one best solution to address this problem. So Google has a practice of, for a particular opportunity, for a particular problem, they weigh in minimum of 10 solutions. From those 10 solutions, they come out with the best solution. But as a standard in any productized kind of product industries, this is the rule that they follow is come out with alternative solutions. So the focus here of why do we need to look at alternative solutions is we are trying to compare one with the other and try to see what is actually really solving the customer's problem. And remember, we are not going to implement any of these solutions in this product discovery. Only we are going to try to do a kind of a small experiment to take a day or two. A riskiest part in this particular solution. Remember, for example, you are trying to work on a particular solution. We will take a day or two, try to experiment a part of the solution which we think is the riskiest part. We are not going to implement the whole solution. Say, for example, we are not going to implement all three solutions and then try to find out which solution is the best. No. We are going to compare between these three solutions with these four risks that what we were talking about. Which, by you making use of which desirable risk that we are taking, that the problem will be solved. Whether the customer would really loves this particular opportunity, whether we'll be able to make the solution from this particular technology, whether the customer will use this project. So the four risks that what we were trying to talk about would be weighed in all these three solutions. And as a product review, they will try to pick one solution what they think would work well based on the four risks that what we were talking about. The business viability risks, the value risks, the usability risks, and the feasibility risk. So this is what will be weighed in. And remember, we are not going to implement or test the whole solution, but we are going to take a part of it, which is going to take a day or two, experiment it. And the best part is, if you don't think that it's going to solve, we will strike that down and move to another solution and try to see whether it works. The important focus here of this operation solution tree is, if we look at a kind of an roadmaps, right? We talked about productized mindset, where to handle risks, what did we do? We had some kind of stage gates. We had a product backlog. We had a roadmap, which gave a kind of a false sense of certainty. Product building as such is a complex issue. We really don't know what the customer wants. We're not sure about the requirement. We're not sure about the problem. We're not even sure about how to solve it. So I need a kind of a replacement to my product backlog. I need a kind of a replacement to my roadmaps, product roadmaps specifically. And come out with this visual representation of, look, I have an outcome. I have an opportunity. For that opportunity, I have a solution, n number of solutions. I'm going to pick opportunity one, try to see I am able to come out with multiple solutions, weigh in which solution would work based on the four risks, look at that particular, try to do a particular experiment. If it works, I push that to a delivery cycle. So the point here is, this typically depicts the complexity of a product, or it depicts the confusionist state of when we try to do a product. So what is it trying to do? It's trying to segregate between the problem and the solution. We pick a particular opportunity. Generally, teams in discovery sprints won't pick all opportunities at once. They will pick one opportunity. That opportunity is nothing but a problem that we are trying to address. For that problem, the teams will work on solutions. They will come out with these three solutions. From these three solutions, they will try to weigh in which solution to work or not. Now, how do I know which opportunity I need to pick? Is based on this desirability risk. Do people really want it? Does it solve the particular problem? So this is the desirability risks that will help. Say, for example, there are three opportunities here. The desirability risk will be weighed in, meaning as teams, we try to discuss, will it solve the customer problem? Does it have any value to the customer? Will people like it? So those kind of arguments or conversations will happen. That risk will be weighed in. And once that pick a particular opportunity, say we are picking this opportunity one based on the desirability risk, and then we try to come out with a kind of multiple solutions. We try to weigh in which solution will work better. To weigh in which solution will work better, we are looking at these four risks. The desirability risk is what we talked about. The feasibility risk is more about, can we build it? Do we have the technical capability to build it? The business viability is more about, does it make economic sense? Will I be able to cover the cost? Will the operation cost be controllable? The usability risk is more about, you make a product, will the customer or will the user able to use it without any guidance, without anybody's help by the first time? So all these four risks, will the customer really want it? Can the user use it without any guidance? Can the teams build that product? Does it make an economic sense? So these are the four risks that will be weighed in to pick a particular solution. And for that particular solution, you don't implement the whole solution. You only implement a particular experiment, a particular part of it, which you feel is a kind of riskiest. To ascertain, yes, solution works, one works well for this particular opportunity. Say, for example, the solution work one, we came out with an experiment and the team had found out, no, it is not feasible. Say, for example, they did a kind of an experiment to check whether for the particular architecture or the technology that they are working, will I be able to implement it? So they came out with a simple test in a day or two. It's not the whole solution that we are trying to build. Come out with that particular kind of experiment, and they have found out, no, solution one would not be able to help us out. Now they'll strike it down and try to look at solution two, and they will try to apply the same exact four risks that what we were talking about. And say, for example, I'm picking the same thing, feasibility risk. Yes, I'm able to make use of the current architecture and deliver it. Now I will do the same kind of desirability risk in terms of whether people will really like that particular way of solutioning it to address the problem. If they find it yes, then for this particular opportunity, I have found out a particular solution, and the end product of this product discovery is the actual MVP. You know what needs to be built now. The end result of this opportunity solution tree, after looking at multiple solutions, after looking at multiple opportunities, they have come out with an MVP so that the delivery team can actually pick this solution and start working on it. So the whole point of the product discovery here is, am I building the right product? Are we building the right product is what we are trying to find out here. We are not trying to try to find how to build it. Rather, we are trying to find what we need to build. So this is a kind of a quick 1 week or a 2 week exercise where they particularly try to experiment a particular thing. And remember, they are not going to implement the whole solution. They will try to implement a part of the solution which they think that needs to be tested so that I can take a decision. So these product discovery teams will first pick a particular opportunity, work on that opportunity, come out with an MVP, push that MVP to the delivery teams to start working the actual products. So the focus of these product discovery teams is to come out with, are we building the right product? That's the focus here. Once they look at particular opportunity, they will look at the second opportunity, they look at the third opportunity. So what is it trying to say? It's a kind of a typical replacement to kind of product roadmaps or say product backlogs. What was happening in product backlogs or product roadmap was the focus was on, okay, this was the prioritized item that we are going to work. Once I finish this item, I am trying to look at the next item, next item. The focus was only on completing activities, completing features. But does it really give value? Is the point that we are looking at. And it gives a kind of a false sense of hope just because of having these kind of roadmaps or product backlogs that we are able to handle risks. But if you look at this opportunity solution tree, it actually depicts a Confucius state. It actually depicts a risk. And we are trying to weigh in one option over the other and trying to refine the requirement so that we are trying to build a better product or what we need to build rather than how to build it. So the focus on these discovery teams would be on what to build. For that, these opportunity solution trees are the best way of working on so that they build that MVP. Remember, the end product at what these discovery teams, their focus is not on delivering products. Their focus is on delivering MVPs. From those MVPs, the product delivery teams will start working on in terms of scalability, performance, the action. They will try to build the actual product. But here the focus is more on what do we need to build before focusing on how to build it. That's the focus. So what is the advantage of this opportunity solution tree is I have multiple opportunities, meaning multiple problem areas that we are trying to look at. We are looking at alternative solutions, try to pick the best solution among the other, try to do a kind of a quick experiment, and then try to pick a particular opportunity, create an MVP so that the product delivery teams actually work on it. So this gives a kind of a understanding that, look, as a product, my outcome is to increase my revenue by X percentage. These are all my problem areas. To solve these problem areas, these are all my solutions. I know the solution 1 doesn't work. I have moved to solution 2, and I believe solution 2 is addressing the particular opportunity. So it gives a kind of a clear-cut understanding of where the teams are heading. You're trying to compare and contrast, meaning we are trying to compare between multiple solutions and trying to find out what needs to be built. More importantly, there is an alignment between the business need and the customer need. Take, for example, Wells Fargo. It's a banking financial institution where they had some kind of a monthly targets or yearly targets, quarterly targets, whatever you call, as anybody who works in this bank have to come out with this many number of new accounts created. Say new credit cards being distributed to the teams, to the users, customers, or each person, bank staff have to increase the number of bank accounts within their bank branch. So that was the kind of a goal that was set. But the problem was teams were focused on creating new bank accounts. So the challenge was so much humongous that even without the customer's knowledge, the bank staff used to create bank accounts for the customers. Or say, for example, the bank staff used to create accounts of to their family members, just dummy accounts, just for making sure that these targets are being met. Even without the customer knowing, these guys would create accounts. They would create accounts for their friends and for their families. But these are all dummy accounts. There's no point increasing the number of accounts without any value to that particular account, right? So it was basically kind of dummy accounts. So what happened was the customer really didn't like creating, they didn't find any value creating these extra accounts. But it was the target from the company perspective, but it didn't align with the customer. That's the point that we are trying to look. So beyond that time, what happened was customers started complaining about this that, look, I never asked for a bank account to be created. Without my knowledge, these accounts were created. And then the company had to pay penalties. Now, what are we talking here is company had a goal, but did it really align with the customer? Is the question mark at this particular use case where are we really trying to address the problem of the customer? So if there is a kind of a misalignment that is happening, I'll be able to realize that if I see this opportunity solution tree. So what we are trying to look at is you had an outcome, you had different opportunities, meaning different problem areas, you had different solutions for it, and there is an alignment between the customer and actual product that we are trying to build. I am able to take decisions. I knew that solution one did not work, so I moved to kind of solution two. Solution two did not work, I'll move to solution three. If I knew this opportunity one does not work, I will leave it alone and move to the next opportunity. That's what we're trying to do. So this was a kind of easy way of depicting the problem area, the solution. There's a clear kind of segregation that was happening. More importantly, it helped me to make decisions. More importantly, there was an alignment between the customer and the actual product that we are trying to build, and we had an outcome. Instead of having a 50-page, 100-page specification document, or instead of having a product roadmap, which doesn't solve any purpose, it was just like a feature factors. There's no point having a kind of a prioritized product backlog or a kind of a roadmap that what we are trying to look at. It's just a replacement to the product roadmaps that what we are looking at is this opportunity solution tree. And the end result of this opportunity solution tree is the MVP. We decide what needs to be built so that we push this MVP to the actual product delivery team. So what we're talking about is the product discovery team, which tries to understand the problem of the customer and tries to understand what needs to be built. And this tool helps us to segregate the problem and solutions. Tool helps us to decide which solution to pick, to decide of which experiment that I can pick and try to solve around. So that kind of mindset, if we are trying to look at a kind of a productized mindset, I need to have some kind of product discovery teams. And for that product discovery teams, I need to have these tools to come out with a decision of what product I need to build before the actual product is being built by the delivery teams. All right. Now, how do I come out? Now, we know that we have to make use of this tool. We know that what is the outcome. We have come out. We need to first, we say, for example, we know what's the outcome. That is, I need to increase X percentage of revenue for my product would be the outcome. Now, how do I come out with if I need to make use of this particular tool? I have defined as teams product. We have created product trio teams. We have a kind of a discovery sprint. And then we are trying to look at how do we create opportunities, meaning how do I create pain points? How do I identify pain points? Or how do I identify a need? Or how do I identify a desire? For that to happen, we need to have another tool called experience maps. Now, we all have worked on customer journey maps. Let's look at that first. So what do we mean by customer journey maps? You had an actor, you had a persona. Let's take a simple shopping cart, for example. You try to log in. Then you logged in, you try to search a particular product. Then you went to the particular product, viewed it. Then you try to buy it. So what are we talking about in this customer journey map is it's a kind of a linear, sequential way of processes or the steps that a particular actor would take, where there is a start point and then end point, and there is a sequence of happenings or events that happened. That's typically a customer journey map. But experience maps are quite different from that. We're not looking at a linear way of looking at these steps. Rather, we only need the pain point of the customer. So, say for example, to me, logging in is a pain point. I only focus on that particular pain point. So, wherever in this customer journey, you have, say, 10 steps from the start to the end, all the 10 steps is not a problem area. We look at, say, in these 10 steps, there would be 2 or 3 steps which are more troubling to the customer or troubling to the user. I have issues while logging in. I have issues while I buy the product. I have issues when I am trying to enter my banking account. So, experience maps are more about focusing only on the friction, the confusion, or the emotional state that what the customer faces, the breaking point, and not the complete flow that we are talking. So, say for example, for the shopping cart realization, I had 10 steps to complete an order. That's the typical customer journey. Say from step 1 to step 10, I complete that particular order. Experience maps are more about looking only at the friction area. Say, for example, I have problem while logging. I only focus on that. That we call it as touch points, meaning the event that I am interacting with the customer or interacting with the product, and that's being a kind of a troublesome. That's a friction. That's breaking something. So I look at that as a particular touch point. So we are trying to find out the touch point would be, say, for example, I am trying to log into the application. I am trying to search a particular product. I am trying to buy a particular product. I am trying to enter banking information. So we are trying to capture a particular event here that we call it as touch points. And we are trying to look at the emotional state of the user who is at this particular event. It could be a high or a low. I could be kind of very happy, delighted, satisfied, or I'd be frustrated, I would be angry, I will be sad, right? So we are just trying to capture the emotional state during that particular touch point. Meaning at that particular event, when I connect with that product, what is the emotional state that I am feeling? What is the thought process that I am trying to think about when I am trying to log in? What is the doubt or what is the concern? What is going through my mind during this particular event? I am trying to capture what is the friction, what is the pain point, what is the problem area, and we are trying to look at the impact of that. From this pain point, we come out with the opportunities. Remember, the opportunity was nothing but a pain point. It could be a kind of a need or it could be a desire. So for that, I have a now say for example, I am trying to create an opportunity solution tree. We are trying to create a product called a shopping cart. We have an outcome that is defined that I need to increase my revenue by X number of percentage. Now, for that shopping cart, I need to identify what are my pain points or what is my need, or I need to identify what is my desire. For that, identifying that opportunity, I need to make use of this experience maps. So this experience map like what I said, is not an exact replica of the customer journey map. Customer journey map will capture all the steps, linear steps from step 1 to step 10. That's not what we are trying to look at here. This is more of a kind of a diagnostic tool to only look at the friction areas. My problem area is only when I am trying to pay using my credit card. This is only pain area is only while I am trying to log in. So if only we are trying to look at that particular event. So when we say touch points, it means that at what particular event or a particular moment you are trying to interact with the product. We are trying to capture that. We are trying to capture the emotion in terms of whether I am happy, delighted, exhausted, confused, angry, trying to capture that emotional state. During that emotional stage, what am I trying to think about? What's my thought process? What is my pain point? If I am able to capture the friction area, I will be able to identify the opportunity for that particular shopping cart. So that's the exercise that we are trying to look out here. So for that, we already talked about this risk, right? So to there are to identify an opportunity, which opportunity we need to pick, we are trying to look at these kind of risks. At this particular point of time, we are only trying to identify, not choose which opportunity to pick. So we will take a pause here and take an example of a shopping cart and try to have a use case of how to create an opportunity solution tree or how to create an experience map. So in order to come out with an opportunity solution tree, I first need to identify an opportunity, that means a pain point or a desire or a need. So let's take a simple example of a shopping cart. I am trying to search a particular item. Say, for example, I am trying to look at items where I will be able to pick out easily and then try to order that items. Rather, what am I trying to do here is the touch point is I am trying to search a particular item in that shopping cart product. I am trying to capture the emotion here. I feel frustrated, meaning it's a low emotion where I am not able to see my product within a second. Just at the first sight, I need to see, look, this was the item that I ordered last time. I should be able to see that item at least at the as a first item. I'm not able to see that. So I'll go to search multiple pages and then pick that item. So that's the emotion that we are trying to capture. Okay, what is the thought process? Immediately, what I think is, why am I not able to see the items that are relevant to me is the question that, or the concern that I ask myself. Okay, what is the pain point because of that? Since I'm not able to see the items, it's slowing down my actual ordering process. That's the pain point. So once I get this pain point, I can come out with this opportunity that if I am able to see my items, related items, I'll be able to buy the items quickly. So that's the opportunity. So what we were looking at is opportunity as a pain point, and we are trying to look at the impact because of that pain point. I'm not able to see my items quickly because of me not able to see that items quickly. I'm not able to order those items is the opportunity that I see. So what I'm looking at is I have looked at a problem area. Look, I'm not able to search a particular item and quickly buy. So that is pain point is what we are trying to address here. For that to be addressed, now we have got the opportunity, the first part. Similarly, there could be multiple opportunities. Like it could be a need. Say, for example, I have an order. I'm not able to change those orders immediately. which makes me frustrating. Or I'm not able to receive any items that what I bought at the same day is what we are looking at. So these are the problem areas. In turns, we are trying to convert these problem areas into opportunities. And the opportunity could be a pain point. The first one was a pain point was I'm not able to search the items. The second was more of a need. The third opportunity is more about desire. So we are trying to put the customer at the center and try to see which item that we can work first. So all these are opportunities. Now I have created the first three opportunities here. First one opportunity was searching items. Second opportunity was more about editing the orders. Third one was about getting the delivered items at the same day. Now let's look at a particular opportunity of finding items during a search. For that, we have to come out with at least three solutions. So as a team, the product trio team will try to look at what solution that we could do for handling this opportunity. So for the search to happen quickly, what do we do is one solution could be, remember, these are not kind of technical solutions. These are solutions that address the customer problem. We are not looking at how to build it. They are not solutions for that. These are solutions to find out what needs to be built, how we are trying to address that particular problem. So my searching items is a difficulty, is the pain point here. For that, one way could be is show items of my past purchases so that I can pick and choose. Other one would be is get the customer preference. I may like cosmetics more than anything else. So I may prefer have a kind of a questionnaire to the customer asking what would be your likes and dislikes. Based on it, you show items. That would be one kind of a solution. The other could be a solution called of a quick filters, where I'll be able to have a quick filter, search it, and then come out with it. So now remember, we know what problem we are trying to look at. For this problem, I have three solutions. We are not going to try out all three solutions. For these three solutions, we are going to look at these four risks that what we were talking about. Using this solution of looking at previous orders and showing the items, will the user really like it? Does it really solve the problem? Is what we are looking at the desirability risk. By implementing this, can the user ease it easily is what we are looking at from a usability point without asking anybody's help the first time. Is he able to know how to use that particular feature of that product and make use of it? Can the teams really implement that technically with the current architecture? Do we have that current skill sets? Does it, by doing this implementation, am I reducing the operating cost? Is my cost affordable rather more than the value? So am I getting value more than the cost that is getting incurred because of implementing it? Does it pay off? So you look at these four risks as a product trio, and pick one solution out of it. Before even doing that, you came out with an experience map, you found out an opportunity, you had three opportunities now. Remember, the product trios have to pick one opportunity out of these three based on this desirability risk. Ask which one would give more value to the customer. Say, for example, the first one is what we picked. For that, they will look at these three solutions, use these four risks, and then try to pin down one solution. And they're not going to implement the whole solution. They are trying to only implement a part of it, which is going to take a day or two at the max to find out whether the solution really works, come out with the MVP, and push it to the delivery team, which is actually going to implement this product. So we saw two tools here. One is the experience map, which is trying to identify the pain points, which is trying to identify a solution. From there, we are trying to place a kind of an opportunity solution tree, which depicts to the customer for this particular outcome. These are the problems that I am trying to address. I picked one problem. There are multiple alternative solutions. I picked one solution and I feel this works and come out with an MVP so that it could be pushed to the product delivery teams. So this is what we are looking at. Now, say for example, this is how this opportunity solution tree will look at. So the outcome is for this shopping cart, I need to make sure that the first time users are increased by 10% is the outcome that we are trying to look at. For that, we have multiple opportunities. For this opportunity is the search item that what we looked at is finding relevant items is taking too long. So how do I address this problem? To address this problem, I have three solutions. One is look at past purchases and showcase that so that the searching takes less time. Or you first get the kind of customer preferences, or you go through a quick filter. For this, you try to pick any of one experiment. So out of these three opportunities, we are trying to pick one opportunity based on the desirability risk. Then you're trying to look at these three solutions, weigh in on these four risks that what we were talking about, pick one solution, try to do a particular experiment, then try to come out with an MVP. Is all that we are trying to look at in this opportunity solution tree. So the tools that we are trying to look at here is one is the experience map, where you're trying to look at the touch points, the emotional state, so that you try to identify an opportunity. Then you try to come out with solutions, and then you push this to an opportunity solution tree. Anybody looks at this will be able to clearly identify what the product team is all doing about, rather than looking at a product roadmap or a product backlog, where it's a kind of a feature factories. Nobody's interested on looking how many features we develop. But here, this is the outcome. This is the problem area that I am trying to look at. This is the multiple solutions that I looked at, but I'm trying to look at one particular solution. And I feel this solution is going to work. Come out with the MVP. All this happens within a week or two. And then this MVP is being pushed to the actual product delivery teams, but they take care of the scalability, performance, the actual delivery of the product. But here, as discovery sprints, we are trying to make use of this opportunity solution trees, make use of this experience map to look at what needs to be built, discover the particular product before actually the product is being built. So I'm just trying to wrap it up. There are many habits that we talked about, and all this cannot be put into effect at day one. We can always look at one habit or one practice and try to follow that. So the first one that what we talked about was teams coming out with outcomes. Outcomes are how we are trying to measure success. Remember, we are no longer feature factory teams. We are looking at outcomes of what problems that we are trying to address or what value we are trying to look. Number of users, registered number of users, what revenue that is. So we're looking at more about outcomes as measure of success rather than delivering features. So experience map is a tool that we used to come out, identify opportunities. Continuous interviewing is a way of interacting with the customer to understand or learn about the customer, about his pain points. Opportunity mapping tree is what we looked at of separating the problem and the solution and the alternative solutions, the tree that what we looked at. you had multiple opportunities, meaning you had multiple pain areas, need, desire. I need to pick one among them, work on it, then look at the next opportunity. So I need to prioritize opportunities. For that, we made use of the desirability risk. And for any of the solutions, we were looking at these four risks that what we were talking about. The desirability, meaning does the customer really needs it? Does it really solve the problem? Usability risks, whether the customer understands how to operate that product. Feasibility, will we be able, based on the current technical stack or based on a particular architecture, will we be able to build that particular product? Business availability, does it make sense? So based on these four risks, we are trying to look at multiple solutions and trying to pick one solution of it. And solutions are always ideas, and these ideas are always kind of assumptions. So any solution that we pick are always considered as ideas, and each one is a kind of an assumption. We believe users will find these items based on past order. It's an assumption that we are trying to make, and we are trying to see whether this assumption really works through this experiment, or we are trying to weigh in this assumption based on the four risks that what we talked about. Is all that we are trying to look at. And we are trying to measure this impact. You had an outcome. What is our daily active users who are trying to look at? Is that we are trying to measure, rather than how many features or whether we have deployed a particular release doesn't really matter. And we are trying to manage cycle. One is the product discovery team, the other is the product delivery team. The focus for this session was more about product discovery, that what needs to be built must be first addressed. The problem areas must be first addressed before we actually delivering the product. And the end output of this product discovery teams is the MVP. And based on it, the product deliveries will start working out. Ideally, it's about showing your work. So what are we trying to show here? In a page, I'm trying to show the work. It's not that customer tries to see only the output of a particular feature. This is the outcome. This is the opportunity. These are the multiple solutions that I'm looking at. These are the kind of experiments that we are looking at. So this session was from a book called Continuous Discovery Habits, written by Teresa Torres. So the focus here was more about product discovery of what needs to be built. So the next session would be on more about how do we test these assumptions. We did not talk about how are we actually testing these experiments. All that we talked about was we created the product trio, we made use of these opportunity solutions trees, we came out with this, identified this opportunity using the experiment map, we filled this opportunity, we filled this solution. Now, how these needs to be tested is the missing gap here, which we will talk about in the next session. But the point that I would like to put across here is, even before actual product deliveries, we need product discovery teams, which focuses on what needs to be built, have these kind of tools in place to come out with outcomes, come out with opportunities, come out with multiple solutions and pick one solution from it before actually trying to deliver this product. So I'd like to end this session right away here. And the next session would be more about how do we test these experiments is all about. Thank you all. Thank you.